Hello Team Daetro. In today's video I will be narrating true stories from haunted locations sent by subscribers and a friend, and a bonus fiction story from the POV of the ghost and an article from an allegedly haunted hotel. Let us begin. My name is John, and I'm an only child of two call center agents. They both work the graveyard shifts. I always wondered, why is it called graveyard? Growing up, I was used to being home alone at night. We rented a small house in a quiet neighborhood near St. Mary's College. It was a two-story house with a spacious yard, perfect for my parents and I, but it wasn't perfect after all. My experience started with small, seemingly harmless incidents. I would hear water droplets out of nowhere, and doors would slam shut on their own. I didn't pay much attention to it and brushed it off as strong winds. However, one night, while I was lying in bed, I suddenly heard a woman's voice whisper in my ear. I sat up in terror, but no one was there. The voice continued to whisper in my ear, telling me something that I couldn't understand. I was so scared that I couldn't fall asleep for the rest of the night. The next day, I told my parents about what happened, but they did not believe me. They thought I was just imagining things because of my lack of sleep and playing too much computer games. But I knew what I heard. From that night on, the strange occurrences became more frequent and intense. I would often see dark figures walking up and down the stairs, and hear cries coming from the bathroom when I was home alone. I tried to ignore them, but it became increasingly difficult. One night, while I was studying in my room, I heard a loud knock at the front door. I walked downstairs and cautiously approached the door and peeked through the window, but no one was there. I asked who it is, and there wasn't any response, so I tried to brush it off as other kids pranking us. But then, I heard a sinister laugh coming from the other side of the door. I ran to my room and texted my parents, but they were at work and couldn't answer me until next morning. I was left alone with my thoughts and fears, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was watching me. Again, I wasn't able to sleep that night. The next day, my parents finally returned home and I told them what had happened. My mom was shocked, but my dad didn't believe me again. My mom immediately asked my dad to call the priest to bless the house. My dad tried to decline, but mom can be persistent at times. So my dad left to get the priest and came back the same afternoon. The priest entered the house carrying holy water and a crucifix. He listened carefully to my story, then began to pray and bless every room in the house, and I finally had a peaceful night's sleep. However, the strange events started to happen again, and this time, they were even more intense. The dark figures I have seen before were now more visible, and the whispers in my ear became louder. I couldn't bear it any longer and asked my parents to move out of the house. But they said we can't just leave right away, so I had to bear the torture over and over again until I decided to run away one day. My parents finally took me serious and looked for another apartment. We still currently live in this one with no paranormal experience or anything, but the horrors of the first one will forever be unforgotten. Hello Daetro, my name is Jamie. I'm a new subscriber. I came across your channel when I saw your Fast and Cross shorts, and I would like to share to my fellow subscribers my paranormal experience with a house I used to live in, located in Houston about 2.5 decades ago. It was located in a quiet neighborhood in the middle of the city. My parents were both doctors, and we lived in this house as a family of 5. I had a younger sister who was still in grade school, and a brother who was in high school. We all thought that this was the perfect house for us, with its very large yard, spacious rooms, and cozy atmosphere. But little did we know that the house would give us the scare of a lifetime. It started with small things, like doors slamming shut on their own, strange noises in the middle of the night, and objects moving by themselves. I was creeped out by it, but nothing alarming, so I thought it was just my imagination. But as time went by, the incidents became more frequent and frightening. One night, my sister claimed that she saw a ghostly figure standing at the end of her bed, watching her. She was so scared that she refused to sleep in her room and slept in my room instead. I didn't believe her at first, but then strange things started happening to us too. My brother would hear footsteps coming from the hallway when no one was there, and I would feel an icy breath on my neck when I was alone in the living room at times. One day, I was watching TV in the living room, when suddenly, I saw a figure of a man standing near the dining room. I immediately froze, unable to make a move or sound. The figure was tall and dressed in old-fashioned clothes, with a hat on his head and a cane in his hand. He just stood there, staring at me with empty black eyes. I was paralyzed with fear, but after what felt like an eternity, the figure vanished into thin air. My parents wouldn't believe us no matter how much we explained, but as they began experiencing weird things too, they were forced to acknowledge that something was not right about that house. We tried to ignore it and continue living as normal, but it only got worse. We started experiencing vivid nightmares and strange voices, and the ghostly figure became more and more active, appearing to us at random times. The tension in the house was increasing, and we were all living in fear. Eventually, we could no longer ignore what's happening and decided to seek help. We found a paranormal investigator who confirmed that the house was indeed haunted by the ghost of a former owner who had died in the house many years before. With the help of the paranormal investigator, we were able to conduct a cleansing ritual and finally lay the ghost to rest. It was a difficult and emotionally draining experience, but we were all relieved to have our house back to normal. Right now, my parents and my little sister lives at that house, although my brother and I have already moved out several years ago. And my sister tells me that sometimes she still have these nightmares about what happened 2.5 decades ago. My name is Mark. I'm a retired nurse from Tennessee. This story is my paranormal experience in the Philippines several years ago. You see, I fell in love with a beautiful Filipino woman, Sophie, not her real name, who is now my wife. And the story happened way back when I decided to visit her for the first time. We went to a lot of places: Subic Bay in Zambales, Ternate Beach in Cavite, Taal Lake, and lots more. It was 3.5 weeks of traveling and relaxation. And as a tourist, I can say that I fell in love with the country. Everything was great. The culture is very different in a good way, and the history is rich. Every single moment was unforgettable. But the most unforgettable one is the Diplomat Hotel in Baguio. The history about it is that the building was established in 1913 by the Dominicans as their retreat house. But during World War II, it served as a hospital for soldiers, and many soldiers are said to have died there. In the years that followed, the hotel went through a series of owners and renovations and was eventually converted to a luxury hotel. But it eventually fell into disrepair and was abandoned in the 90s, and has gained a reputation as one of the most haunted places in Baguio, with reports of ghostly sightings and strange occurrences. As we visited the area, The guard told us that we're not allowed to enter the building, but we could take pictures of the surrounding area, so that's what we did. We walked around the place and took pictures. As a first-time visitor, I was really excited, and with the creepy lore behind the hotel, I was hoping to see a ghost in that place. Sophie and I were walking towards the back of the abandoned hotel while trying to scare each other when we started to smell something different. It was like the scent of perfume, but I didn't know what it was. But Sophie already had the scared look in her face. She said it was the smell of sampaguita, a type of flower that is widely used in religious and cultural events. Man, it gave me goosebumps as she said that. We tried to look for the plant, or better, I tagged along with Sophie as she searched for the plant because I didn't know what sampaguita is at that time. But we didn't find where the scent was coming from. Sophie wished that the story ended there, but as we were walking back, we heard the cries of a little girl coming from inside the building. Which was impossible because the building is off limits. We hurried back and told the guard about our experience, and he said that it was something they deal with on a daily basis. He also told us that an apparition of a girl sometimes appear at random times in the area. But too bad, we didn't stay long enough to see her. Hey Daetro, congrats on 10k subs. I wanted to share with you a truly unique and sinister experience that I had in the past. I once visited the Kirk of St. James in Scotland, and I must say, it was an experience I will never forget. As a lover of all things eerie and haunted, I was thrilled to learn about this medieval church that was said to be haunted by a variety of ghosts, including a headless horseman and a mysterious woman who walks the church at night. I knew I had to visit the place for myself. When I arrived at the church, I was immediately struck by its eerie beauty. The church is 2 minutes away from a large cemetery filled with old weathered headstones. The church itself was ancient, with stone walls and a large wooden door that creaked open as I pushed it open. As I stepped inside, there were other tourists like me taking photos and appreciating the beauty of the old church. As I explored the church, I came across a room in the back that seemed to be locked. The door was old and rusted, but I could hear strange noises coming from behind it. Me being the usual me, I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. I knocked a couple of times and said hello. As I turned my back away, suddenly, the door creaked open. I looked around me to see if anyone was looking at me, but everyone seemed to be minding their own business. So with my curiosity besting me, I decided to enter the room. The air was thick with a musty scent, and there was a palpable sense of unease in the air. I started to feel a sense of unease, as if I was being watched by an unseen presence. Walking inside was the biggest mistake I did. Inside that room, I was greeted by a figure that appeared to be a woman. Her skin was pale and her hair was long and black. She was dressed in a long, flowing gown, and she seemed to be beckoning me to follow her. I wanted to run away and sprint out of the room, but I was frozen with fear and I couldn't move. The apparition seemed to be getting closer and I felt like I was about to be consumed by it. I closed my eyes and prayed to God for help. The next thing I knew, I was standing up in the hallway outside of the room, with no memory of how I got there. I was disoriented and confused, but I was also filled with a sense of relief that I had escaped from that sinister place. Since that experience, I have not been able to shake the memory of what I saw in the Kirk of St. James. I have no explanation for what I encountered that day, but I do know that it was a truly unique and sinister experience that I will never forget. I hope this has given you a glimpse to my strange and eerie adventure, and if you ever find yourself in Scotland, I highly recommend a visit to the Kirk of St. James. Hey, it's Mick, and here's my story. It was year 2001, and my friends and I had taken advantage of the recently relaxed travel restrictions to visit Baguio. Our journey led us to a place close to the Christmas village where my ex-partner had informed me that their old house was located. We were curious and decided to explore the property. At first, everything seemed fine and normal, but as soon as we stepped inside the house, I started to feel a strange sensation. The house was vast, and the surroundings were breathtaking, especially from the balcony, which offered a stunning view of the Christmas village. My friends and I thought that it would be fun to make a TikTok video on the balcony, but as soon as we started recording, the video suddenly stopped. This was unusual because TikTok videos usually keep playing without interruption. The same thing happened multiple times, which made us all feel a bit uneasy. One of my friends tried to make a regular video but discovered that every time she aimed at the camera at the house, the recording would stop. The atmosphere changed when the sun started to set, and the feeling of being watched intensified. I became frightened and suggested that we leave, but my friends were skeptical and thought that ghosts didn't exist anymore in the 20th century. However, as the night grew darker and colder, we all started to sweat, including my friend named Angel, who was also having trouble taking photos in the area. Every time she tried to take a selfie, the image would come out blurred or dark. The moment that truly scared us all occurred when Angel stepped out of the bathroom. She claimed that she saw a woman staring at her from the balcony before disappearing through the wall. This was enough for us to run out of the old house as fast as we could. After this experience, I have come to believe in ghosts in Baguio. I saw how scared Angel was, and I believed what she saw, because the atmosphere changed as soon as it started to get dark, and I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching us. This is why I believe that what happened in that old house was real. Hello there. It's nice to talk to a human after 200 years. My name is Dwayne. I'm one of those legends. But as they say, legends do come from somewhere. I'm the ghost that roams this mansion and I have a story to tell. So make sure to listen. I used to be a human, flesh and blood like you. I remember that I used to be a soldier, but I cannot remember how I came to be here. But I know that it was not by my own choice. It feels like I have been trapped here for an eternity, and everything is the same. I roam the halls, I haunt the rooms, and I relive the same horrors over and over again. People come to visit our house often, mostly in groups. They have cameras and all this new technology that's set to detect us. But every time I try to reach out, to warn them about the dangers that surround them, they seem to not be able to see or hear me. In this giant house, I am not alone. There are others who are confined here as well. And though we are all classified as one, I am aware that our aspirations differ. Some filled with vengeance, some unable to understand what happened to them, some who just doesn't know what they have become. And then there are others like me, souls who fully comprehend what we are, but just couldn't accept it yet. We are those souls with overflowing remorse. Yet for some reason, I seem to have forgotten what mine is. But it has been my belief for decades or centuries that if someone reminds me of it, I will be able to rest and move on. But aside from me and others like me, something else resides in this mansion. Something so sinister that even souls like me try to avoid. In a room in in the second floor is a red man with horns and tail. Avoiding him is not difficult because he never leaves that room. He has been standing in there for centuries. But each time a new soul accidentally crosses the room, he tortures the soul and devours it. I've seen spirits trapped in the walls, their bodies twisted and contorted in agony. I have heard the sound of ghostly whispers in the dead of night, telling tales of horror and death. I have felt the icy grip of fear as I wandered through the dark and creepy hallways, knowing that the red man is always there, watching us. Every human that has come across of him is now one of us. Their story is always the same. They start off with some nightmares. Then it progresses. They start seeing things that were invisible to them before. They say that the devil is after them. Then they try to seek help, but nothing would work, until the only solution left inside their corrupted minds was suicide, only to find out that even that doesn't work. I am trapped here, unable to escape this never-ending nightmare. I hope that someday, someone will find a way to lay me rest, so that I may finally find peace. But until then, I will continue to haunt this house, relieving the horrors every day. The Stanley Hotel, located in Estes Park, Colorado, is one of the most famous haunted hotels in the United States. Built in 1909, the hotel has a rich history and has been the subject of numerous stories of ghost and paranormal investigations. It is perhaps best known for being the inspiration for Stephen King's novel, The Shining. The hotel's history begins with its founder, Freeland Oscar Stanley, who was a successful inventor and businessman. Stanley built the hotel as a summer resort for the wealthy and was known for his luxurious and opulent tastes. The hotel was an instant success, attracting guests from all over the world who came to enjoy its stunning views, elegant dining rooms, and luxurious rooms. However, it is the hotel's ghostly residents that have made it famous. Over the years, numerous guests and staff have reported strange and unexplained phenomena, including ghostly apparitions, strange noises, and cold spots. One of the most famous ghost stories is that of a young child who can be heard running and playing in the hallways. There have also been reports of ghostly apparitions in the rooms, and in the music room where a ghostly pianist is said to play at night. Many believe that the hotel is haunted by the spirits of former guests and staff who have not moved on to the afterlife. Some say that ghosts are still roaming the halls, enjoying the luxury and elegance that they had once experienced in life. Others believe that the ghosts are trapped in the hotel, unable to leave due to the traumatic events that took place in their lifetime. The Stanley Hotel has been the subject of numerous paranormal investigations and ghost hunting expeditions, attracting paranormal enthusiasts from around the world. Visitors can take ghost tours of the hotel where they can learn about its history and hear the ghost stories that have made it famous. The hotel also offers special packages for paranormal investigators and ghost hunters, allowing them to spend the night in the hotel and conduct their own investigations. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, the Stanley Hotel is a fascinating and historic location that is sure to leave a lasting impression. Its rich history, elegant architecture, make it a must-visit destination for anyone interested in the paranormal. So if you're looking for a unique and eerie travel experience, head to the Estes Park and check in to the Stanley Hotel.